Okay, excuse me. The test will be, all right. So before then, however, I do want you as a group to get connected again, and I want you to do the position papers. So let me kind of quickly go over and discuss how I'd like to do these. Excuse me. So just to remind you, these are the groups that you're in. I will send you an email so that you can get in contact with members again. I would like you to do this by Monday, and I'm going to be very kind about the grade. So I'm going to tell you how to get a good one. Right? So you and your groups are going to put together what's called a position. Position paper is used quite a lot, especially hoping to develop skills that allow you to be able to discuss your particular considerations in a positive way. So a position paper starts with a statement, and I'll go over that in a minute. And you as a group are going to argue, yes, this is absolutely true, or no, that it is not. Position paper is not one where you meander back and forth between positions. You state a strong position, and then you justify. You're going to be needing to do times. Get into business on your own. So I'll go over these groups, but let me kind of talk about what I want the position paper to be about. So we have been talking about vertical integration versus outsourcing, and what I want you to do is consider the concept of electric vehicles in a traditional environment or in a vertical market situation. So kind of get our feet on the ground and we can discuss this. So we remember from vertical integration, where one organization does all this, comes directly from the chapter 4 slide. Do production, sales, credit, everything is in a single line. And we can either do forward or downstream integration, where a manufacturer integrates the distribution function down, or we can do a backward or upstream situation, and this is where the distributor retailer produces its own brand source of product. The position is always the buy position. When an organization decides to buy all of its services from a third party, unless you can argue some kind of effective reason why it should. Of course, remember, the main reason why is return on investment. So buy is the continuing port on one side. Excuse me. Make is the other. And the truth is that somewhere in the middle, more of a relational quasi kind of integration, where the relationships are so strong, it's what keeps us together. So we know that the costs and the benefits, you assume all, and risk, the difficulty with that is it's underestimated. But when control is beneficial and the firm's managers can exploit the benefit, then you have a good value. Why? So let's talk about electric vehicles. And I want you to understand also, or kind of get an idea, some of the things about electric vehicles that are vitally important to. First off, electric vehicles have big parts. An ICE, internal combustion engine, has thousands of moving parts. An electric vehicle may have under 100. They have certainly the wheels themselves and the bearings that are in them and the steering wheel itself, but realize there is no reciprocating or rotary engine powering vehicles. And so that makes a significant difference. We also require the best software engineers in the business, and that often gets overlooked when we talk about electric vehicles. Not that more when we talk about autonomous vehicles, I should say, but it's more in electric. Okay. Remember, the single largest part is battery, which is extremely important. Well, and let me also give you dealership so their income, and so the service departments become extremely valuable to them. A traditional dealership, if they're working with electric vehicles, what do you think is going to be their first major investment? What are they going to get if they're going to service electric vehicles based on this? Yes, exactly. The first thing they're going to need is a software specialists and electricians, which are different in many ways from what you the differences of start talking about vehicles. What's the best way? And we're not just talking about current dealerships, we're talking about all dealerships, brand new ones as well. Now, if we follow the Tesla model says that everything is vertically integrated. And they don't have dealerships in what we consider to be the traditional sense. They're quite unique, quite different from any other thing. And so with we start, the premise is this: electric vehicles, not vehicles with no internal combustion engine. That's what a hybrid has the best chance of success sold in a vertical market. And so how do we make it? Well, we look at this as what a conjunctive phrase, all right? In other words, what we do is we break down the pieces of the sentence, and that helps us to analyze whether we can say yes or no. And start with electric vehicles at the standing, and then we also say have the great success in dealership. No. Sold in this statement, this, and this, and before you to this say yes to three of these conditions altogether. Best chance of success sold in the vertical market. Do they have any chance of success at all? Perhaps best chance of success is not being bought, but being run. Maybe that's better. Do all of the advantages of a vertical market lend itself to the advantages of electric vehicles? Remember, you're taking on all the costs and all the risk, and remember, in fact, you underestimate or you underestimate risk providers. So these are questions that you have to ask yourself. And so if you believe, yes, it is true, you have to tell me the conditions which will make it successful. You must justify it. When you write the position paper, the first paragraph will mention whether you agree or disagree with the assumption. Then after that, everything else is the justification for the argument. So, paper will be created with your groups supporting or supporting the president. the paper will be 600 words, no more. It doesn't include bibliography or type. It is amazing how well the mind functions when you have fewer words rather than more. You tend to skip the all the other hands and those. You get directly to the top. It's to be 12 times 1 inch margin space, and I hope all of your group members there. All right. Now here's a little hint. Citations get things. Do more than simply write down your feelings. Do some research for a mark. You come up with valid reasons for that. That gets you a higher grade. I would like the citations to be at the end. They will not be part of your count for the words. Also, to give you a little helpful hint, let me show you the way to do citations. Won't break your neck. Let's see. Nope. I have another way. Secret that I give out that you can do it right inside. Watch this. So go into Microsoft Word. This is where you usually work. See references. Click references at the top. Click manage sources. Okay. So I have a new source to enter. I create new. And so the source journal article. So first thing I do is I'll enter in names. So add some names. Let's see. All right. So I'll those names, Bonanza, Lucky. And so the title of my journal article, let's see. The Journal of Silly. Let's see, 2023. Is a joke. Pages are usually the most important thing. Also, to on show all biological fields. They human issue are usually important. Okay. So now I've got that listed, and look, window looks like I'm looking everything up. Okay. So what I throw in this other one, and I can move that over. Watch now when I close it, go to the end of your article that you're writing, click on bibliography, insert bibliography, and there formatted for you, nice and safe. It's also stored inside of Word, so you can use those citations later if you need to. Let's say I get grumpy and I say, no, I don't want Chicago style, I want APA style. I want. So let me do this. Just go to Chicago style, change it to APA, and it does it automatically. Okay. So on my dissertation, when I had 12 pages of bibliography, this was a lot. So goodness, this is what I do. What's the best way to go look for citations? Is come to here. I've never tried it. Okay. Okay. Let's just go electric vehicles. I use Google Scholar, but I think it does the best job searching scholarly. Many ways that you can ask a question. So here you have it. So you have to be able to be careful of your time You have to make sure that it's consistent with the electric industry, or excuse me, electric vehicles. But this is the way. Okay. So this is actually what good structure configuration, give you an idea of EVs and their particular structures, and use those for citation. Citations, QAs. Just say it. Give me 2 citations. You got a really major step into A territory, right? Why am I doing this? Because I think it's important that you do this as a skill that you need to practice over and over again when it comes in. You need to be making arguments. I'm willing to give that. Okay. All right. So Monday, it can be due all day Monday. I don't care. But I'd like y'all to please turn it in then. And remember, have a good, solid, logical argument. Vertical integration construction leads to the best chance of success. Okay, we all good? Everybody understands? All right, we're going to finish talking about. We're going to talk about type, channel type, and we'll talk about dual distribution, and that'll be it for today. So, yes. Oh, I'll email you that. You should be able to go click on users and show your groups participants. It should be there. I will email them to you today. Okay. But you should have those in emails. Thank you much. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. So we talked about the big choices, intensity. Now we're going to talk about type. And then finally, we will talk about dual distribution. On Monday, we'll talk about how do we close the gaps. So, channel type. So, permutation of that we can get them as retail. Anybody give me that they can order and get goods delivered to their house? Amazon, it's totally online. That's like. And any other, what other goods delivered to us?
Like the website.
Yeah, website. We can do this. We can do buy online. Catalog or mail. We also have verbs. These various permutations are all unique ways and processes to select, purchase, order, and receive a product. It's these different channel types ultimately that can help us be able to grab the complete audience we can. One of the difficulties with channel types is that it provides wide selections to consumers, and consumers do what's called channel pollution, cross-channel work. What it means basically this is there's no one single path to be able to know exactly where the consumer begins and where the consumer ends. And so what happens is you have a difficulty knowing exactly the equity of each channel because you don't know, all you know is that a consumer is ordered and goods have been delivered. Did they start on an information search? Did they first go online? Did they go to the store? Everybody's vision is different. And each format that they have here usually deals with a new clientele. It's important to understand that the more types that you have, it isn't there necessarily to rob individuals from one channel to the other. what you're basically doing is broadening the different ways of distribution. And it's also an understanding that we live in a very fragmented market and that each market has its own way which they want their goods to deliver. Now, having said that, what we do is it gives us coverage variety, gives us many more different ways, and those many more different ways also increase value as well, right? There's nothing but positive side effects usually that come out of this. And just to give you an idea, so bought a 75-inch set when I achieved 10. I got the permission you need before I saw it. Okay, so she wouldn't part with it. She loved it. So I made when information on the internet on all of sure that I was the Samsung Teal 85-inch. But that was enough. I actually had to go to Walmart and actually see it because the consumer need to touch, especially when it comes to increased risk, drives us to be able to confirm our decisions on what I want. So there, looked at it, knew I had the right one, and then I was deciding once again how to order and have it delivered. And ironically, I went to Walmart again because they had not only delivery to my house, delivery individual brought it inside my house, which, just to let you know, it's a crazy thing because the delivery agent is bonded. If anything breaks, they're covered. So let me just tell you this as a rule of thumb: if you ever get anything delivered to your home and it's expensive, let them bring it in your house first because they and pay for it. Okay, so channel type decisions. What are the best ways that we can do this? So there are positive aspects when you're creating new channels, but the problem is that by confound channels by cherry picking. And cherry picking is basically deciding which outlet they wish to go to. Buyers will exploit all multiple routes to the market. But each channel has a different performance. And so one of the unique things is it's likely channel type will produce its own value to each consumer. The value that individual bringing it in far exceeded the value that I had to pay for delivery. Oh, by the way, I had it up for like 3 weeks. I'll bring pictures of it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, what is the first thing I did? No, I'm not doing work. I'm playing Doom. Anyway, what made that so powerful is that it sold me all of those components at the best price and put that together with $99 installation fee. They gave it their 200-hour pressure test. It came to me, I was enormously happy. And all of those unique ways in which we deliver goods to bring value, that's important to understand. Once we choose types, we have to choose agents. Who is going to deliver the environments for the consumers to my particular business? I not only now have a new delivery system, I have a new form, I have new parts that I have to go through to be able to find the right one. And this, you could use this as a script for any kind of choices that you make. First, you put up what's called a set. And so you look at the possible candidates that you want who could deliver that. The next thing is you need to evaluate them on their synergy, how well they work with your particular organization. In the negotiation process, you have to discuss each party's needs and their concerns and decide whether or not it meets or matches those needs, or if you need to make changes. So one of the directors for the analytics summit that's coming up in April. I just got my letter of agreement with the student union, and there's one thing I want them to change. I want to change the registration time from 7 to 7:30 to 7 to 8:30, just because, quite simply, I think people show up late. And then finally, you go through and you implement the process, and that invariably requires some form of education to come to the current users, the employees that you have. And so it's screen the process, you select who you want, you do the proper negotiation, and then you finally implement. This is very similar like to having a new company now. And so this is members when you have new channel. Okay. The last is dual distribution. I've hinted around on this one a little bit, and now it's coming here. Broyhill, along with its network of dealers, has a store that's directly connected to their factory. It's called exactly that. Usually they have that same word or their same name, factory stores. But they're there to sell the goods that they're making. I had a friend of mine, 80s actually, who came to North to actually buy North Carolina, where furniture was made. They had their goods shipped from North Carolina to Mississippi. I know of one small dealership in the Lenore area, or between Lenore and Hickory, still every year has 2 trucks that go, because people still buy from North Carolina. However, Broyhill does the same thing. It can work, but be a huge place of conflict. So the official definition is when a manufacturer goes to market through third parties and own their own distribution. It is like having a traditional horizontal market and a vertical market. Here is the major problem. It's in the next. When third party with the manufacturer, you have a difficulty. When it's only third parties, the manufacturer claim control. Look, they're buying 1,000 of an item, they're getting a great price. You're doing 100 of an item. I am not saying one of you vendors is better than the other, and I'm not trying to make a deal for either one of you. Dual distribution competes against its own. Is the major point. Just write this down on your test 10 points. Okay. Two neutral. It both actually effectively put a skin in the game against its own distribution. Now, there's 2 valid reasons for it, but in your operation, you have to satisfy them by actually doing. This is the inherent danger. It's the flaw and the risk, is that basically you no longer can claim to be neutral to what's going on. It doesn't work out. And it can create some pretty hard decisions. So in 1986, the Communications Act basically released Bell System and allowed other companies to start selling goods. So before 1986, just in case you didn't know this, the Bell System owned every single piece of communication equipment in the United States tied to copper. That doesn't mean that they owned radio stations or any of the other. AT&T, you rented your stuff from AT&T when new phone came in, changed about. 1986 communication comes out, and all of a sudden you have little Bell-like corporations reselling Bell equipment. A friend of mine. What you also had is you had what was called distributors, which were known as resellers. They were enormously successful, had strong relationships with the corporations they worked for. They tweaked software inside of the Bell system and really did some amazing things. Corporations had a lot of comfort because they were able to do all of the things that they needed. It was a one-stop shop. And AT&T was pretty ticked at this because they wanted that back. They were missing that. And so AT&T went ahead and started doing the same thing. It created a lot of dysfunctional conflict between the two of them. It wasn't a very nice thing to do. And in essence, AT&T could not claim the demonstration argument, which we'll come up with in a minute. They just wanted the bucks that the value-added resellers get. Long story getting longer. The baby bells from the internet came along. Net to phone came out was demonstrated in 1996 that you could actually talk to someone over the internet versus using copper. By 2008, there were a majority of individuals in the U.S. cell phones versus landlines. The collapse of the Bell system went. AT&T came up and scooped up all the baby bells, and that's why AT&T is where it is. A little bit. Here's the reason why you can get a is to show it all. Their items. So build is, if you remember the concept of performance ambiguity, okay. Demonstration is the only one that works. So the last, well, if I have any chalk, all right. Last thing I want to talk about is called piggybacking. And so, in order to understand piggybacking, let's look at two things. Let's say I'm Pfizer, and I deal in medical, I'm in the medical industry, but more specifically, I'm in the pharmaceutical industry. I have excess distribution capacity that I'm using. Now, I would like to be able to distribute more because the places where I distribute to would need me. All right. It has something in that same industry in a broad categorical way. And that, but distribute someone else's pharmacy. I am a corporation in India. I sell homeopathic medicines, ginsengs, I sell teas, I sell all of those homeopathic kind of medicines that don't fall under the strict purview of what's considered, medicine, but they're considered part of home health. So this is what we have. We have two individual groups. One of them is called the carrier. And this is a company distribution capacity. We also have what's called a writer. Okay. This is a company that needs distribution. So what happens? The writer goes to the carrier and says, let's make it. We want to get into the United States market. We do not have funds or the ability or the capital to be able to build a channel environment to do that, nor do we have the contacts that are inside, just like you do. Allow us to be able to give you our products to your distribution network, and whenever our goods are sold in the United States, you get a piece of that cut, substantial enough for money off of. It's a win-win situation. Excess capacity for the carrier is used up. It's used up by goods that are consistent with that industry. The writer gets into locations that they've never get in before. Win-win situation all around. It works. There's one other kind of piggyback, also reciprocal. And this is this idea of a little bit of a twist. So between 1992 and 1994, Bandai as a corporation started selling some of their second-line kaiju and were sent to the United States, and they kind of put them together with traditional teenagers in suits, and it became the Mighty Morphin Power. It took off. I have no idea how it was. It blew the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out for a couple. No. But as we all know, that's not where the money is. The money's in the merch. Money is always that. I always laugh at movies not like that take themselves so seriously about the money they make. Merchandising is fun, and the software sales are simply out of the roof. I mean, movies to me are just mere connections to things that are much. So anyway, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers come along, Band-Aid comes along, they've got tremendous opportunity to get into the US, but they don't have the venue. How do they do it? So Bandai goes and knocks on the door of Mattel. And Mattel, they say, look, we want to be able to use the distribution channels in North and South America. Can you let us in? Mattel says, how interesting. We were just talking about the fact that we haven't been in the Far East market and we've been trying for the last 50 years. Let's make a deal. Reciprocal piggybacking is when you use each other distribution channel. Reciprocal piggyback. Two corporations use each other's channel. And enormously successful. Bandai took off in the United States. I got the stuff for my son when he was 6. I put all 512 stickers, and I counted every one. I put on every sticker on that thing from midnight to 5 Christmas morning. God, what a Christmas! But enormously successful. Mattel gets into Japan, gets into Australia, win-win situation all around. And it's just one of those things that breeds success. Reciprocal piggybacking, especially, remember the criteria, it has to have the same industry because it's going to be using the same channels. So the goods have to be similar in one way or another, and they achieve success, and they are what they are. Okay? All right. Stop there. I still have a voice. Go back. Do you have a question? All right. Wait.
Why'd you make that face?